Welcome to Unscripted, Believe at Noon, the podcast on Noon Miracle, where we sit down for real conversations that reveal the miracle in all of us. I'm your host, Amy Goldberg, joined by my amazing co-host, Jane Sibbett, who is also the creator and founder of Noon Miracle. Today we are joined, and we're very excited about this, by our guest, Sterling Anderson. Each episode, we get to know someone new, and not just by what they do, but who they are. By simply talking and listening, it's all about connection, curiosity, and discovering the magic that lives in all of us. So let's dive in. This is Believe at Noon. Welcome to Believe at Noon. Thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure.
Actually, I want to ask you, how do the two of you know each other?
Sterling, would you like to take that?
Well, I need my wife, Marcella, to always be in check because I always get the stories differently.
Okay.
But I think it's very simple for me. We were at this gigantic dog park, and I saw this ray of sunshine bouncing around, and she kind of walked up, and she and Marcella knew each other, and she was just glowing. I'm like, who is that person with all that love and energy? And then I think the first time I really noticed Jane was that she was calming people down because a dog fight broke out, and she was saying, "It's okay, you be okay."
It might have been because Blue's a little crazy. So it might have been my dog. He has a Blue also, but it might have been my dog that was.
You two both have the same name of a dog, Blue?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh,
yes.
wow.
Yeah, but he has a sweet Blue, and I have a vicious one. I have a grand protector. So, yeah.
Wow.
So
Sorry, go ahead, Jane.
No, we met at the dog park. Honestly, someone had actually told me, "Oh, you need to meet that man because he's in the business too." I'm like, "What?" And my radar's like, "Who's in the business?" And the reason is because when you live in a little town like ours, which I don't talk about online, where we live, when you live in a little town like that, you miss your tribe, you miss your people, you miss the people that can speak the language. And it's not forever and always, but there's just a certain shorthand that we have from being in the business, and even more when you're in the business and you find people that also have a really cool spiritual bent, also like Sterling does. It makes all the difference in the world. So it's such a joy to know Sterling and his wife. Really, they are the light at the end of the neighborhood.
I love that.
They're very close by, and it's nice to know I could just ride my bike over and see them.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And I mean, for the viewers and listeners, Sterling, before we even get started about talking about your acting, what's something you believe about yourself as a kid that still kind of rings true today?
Wow, my relatives, I grew up in a very rural. I grew up in the color purple, Tuskegee, Alabama, and it was. Yeah, on one side of town, it was the university and all this province, and then the other side was poverty. But we didn't know we were poor. I didn't know I was poor. And so I was watching this movie once, and I was like, wow, my great-grandmother had a little fight and die. My great-grandmother had a little gas stop, and strangers would show up, and there were no men around in the town because of the wars, and I think maybe Vietnam, and I was the only kid, and this movie was called Tender Mercies.
Mm.
And when I saw that movie, I went, I think I want to be a writer.
Oh, wow.
I had it just resonated, and then I was like, well, I don't know how to pursue this. I had, like, with a fervor, pursued acting. I went to American Conservatory Theater. I went to New York to study with Uta Hagen and Herbert Berghoff, HB Studio. Then I followed Roy London to LA, and I was really in love with acting. And I spent a few seasons with San Francisco Shakespeare Company. And then when I saw this movie, I thought, maybe, quite possibly, could be on the other side of the camera. I didn't know it, but that's how it started.
Can I ask you, how does a kid who doesn't think he's poor but is gets to the level in which you are at? How do you even pursue that path?
Wow. So my mother was a teenage mom, and she had the love of her life. She said to him, "I'm pregnant," and he said, "I'm married," which she never knew. So she sent me from Ohio. I was just born to Tuskegee to live with my great grandmother, and then for the next several years, I had no idea what was going on. I was growing up, as a kid. I don't think I was cognizant enough to know I didn't have a mother and a father. But as time went by, and you start to wonder, like year one, year two, year three, and then come to find out I was being sent for. I had no idea why I was being sent for, where I was going, me and my brother. And we ended up on an airplane. And it was the first time I had actually encountered or even had a conversation with someone that was not my race, that was not black. Tuskegee, Alabama was 99% black. And so, I remember on the airplane ride over, this woman, beautiful person that was serving Cokes, said, "Would you like another Coke?" And I looked at my great grandmother like, "Can I speak with her? Because where we're from, we're not allowed to speak to people." And she said, "Oh, yeah, yeah, honey, yeah, sugar, you can." I was like, "Please." And that was the first time I talked to someone that was not black. And then we landed on the tarmac in San Francisco, still not knowing what's going on. This woman walks up to me and says, "Do you know who I am?" And I'm like, "I think your name is Annie Ruth." And she says, "I'm your mother." And I was like, "Huh, that's interesting." Because I thought my great grandmother was my mother. And, you're all of 11 years old going, "Well, I had no idea what's going on." So we came to Davis, California, which changed the trajectory of my life completely. I got into a class, and a teacher named Sue Flanders, they were telling her, "This kid, we can't understand him. He's Southern. He stutters, and we should put him in this remedial section." And she said, "No, I don't think so. I think this kid is really kind of smart." And that woman, that teacher, was the reason I started to do this. And I always tell people, that one teacher, just that one teacher, can be the catalyst to your future.
Wow.
Yeah, quite a
Oh,
story.
Jane, my friend, you are on mute.
There, yeah, sorry about that.
I could read your lips. You said,
Is that one of the reasons why you love teaching so much, Sterling?
Yes.
"Ah, let's talk about that. Tell us what you're teaching."
Yeah, he's an outstanding teacher. I mean, everybody that's gone through his classes cannot stop raving about how he's the best thing that they've
I
ever
could
had
see
for their
why,
writing.
though.
Yeah.
Well, so yeah, and I was in college at St. Mary's. I was playing basketball and studying martial arts, and I got a job working at East Oakland, a liquor store, and there were all these black kids meandering around, and with nothing to do. And so I came up with the idea. I said, "Well, they can't believe in what they don't know or what they can't see." So I gathered about 6 or 7 kids and piled them in my little VW Volkswagen. I drove them to St. Mary's College. And I said, "This is where I go to school." And I cleared it with all my professors, and I was like, "This is what a class is." And then I I sort of took everybody home, and I felt so like, "Oh, they need more, they need more." So then I started picking them up and taking them to the ice creamery and to theaters.
Mm.
And then I got to get them for overnight trips. And it just kept going. And I think it was inspired back because, you know, I really believe that the worst human condition is not necessarily war or poverty. I think one of the worst human conditions is not to be seen or heard.
100%.
Right, right.
And so I was like, you know, I see you, I hear you. What do you dream about? What are you thinking? And fast forward a few years ago, a kid, I'll show you, give you a visual picture. This kid who had 12 brothers and sisters, and they were in dire poverty in Oakland, California.
Wait, you got to pull it back
See,
a little bit.
go
Tap on
back
the
a
frame
little
with
bit.
your finger.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Tap on.
Tap on the frame with your finger.
Tap on the frame with my finger like
Yeah,
that.
okay, and pull it back a little bit because it's still not in focus. Put it right next to your face. It's weird. It's the blurring thing in the background. If you get rid of the blur in your background, we can see just a little tiny. There
Yeah,
it is.
that's
There
good.
it is. Perfect.
There it is.
Yes.
Oh, that's
So
good.
this little kid, his name was Sudan, and
Oh,
he called me up years and years later, telling me how he's getting his master's and
wow.
yeah. And I was like, he was one of the kids I picked up and used to take around with me. And yeah, it was. I thought, wow,
That's
that
everything, isn't it,
matters.
Sterling?
Yeah, really,
I
really
can feel
matters.
it. Like I could feel the energy around that, you know?
You triggered
And
the
then
dreams, right?
yeah, and then a wonderful woman who's actually a very successful showrunner and quite a remarkable person. Probably shouldn't mention her name, but her name is Melinda Taylor, Sue Taylor. Melinda Sue. She is. We worked on a show called Medium together with Glenn Gordon Carradine, and she said, "There's this mentoring program going." I was like, "I'm there. Where is it?" She said, "Really?" I go, "Yeah, I'm there." And so I was somewhere near like South Central. Showed up in the classroom, same thing, just and you know, you get to a school like that and you become the Pied Piper. You know, you're tall and these kids are like, why is this person here? Why is he wearing those shoes? Why is he wearing that shirt? Why is he walking that way? And then I kept going and going and going. And then I started a at-risk program. We're working with foster kids and I start teaching them about writing and what I do. And then that gravitated to or graduated to me starting a film school where I got all these kids to write like little paragraphs and maybe we should film them and you should act in it and you should do this, and it just kept going and kept going. And then next thing I know, like a kid walked into my class. He never acted, never read a screenplay, and I said, we're all writing shorts and we're filming them. Kid won a film festival.
Wow, good for him. A
Yeah.
kid? No, guy? A boy?
Well, he was about 18 at the time. Now he's in his early 20s, and he's called me and said I got signed by an agency, and yeah. So, yeah, my thing was there's only so much you can get out of life by focusing on yourself, but you can get so much more when you focus on others,
Yeah.
you know, and show an interest in their culture, their language. Why do you eat that food? You know, why is your grandmother talking like that? You know, so that's I think in a lot of ways, this is why I believe I stopped acting, because in order to be a really good actor, you're your own commodity, and you almost have to sometimes see the world like this. You have to go, me, am I talking well enough? Do I look? Am I standing up? But when you're a writer or a filmmaker, you have to see the world like this.
Mhm.
And that's what changed for me.
You know, Amy, I don't know if you know Sterling's back. I mean, he mentioned that he was part of ACT, but Sterling, you have an interesting, and I want to tie this together with why you're a good teacher as well. But when you were doing Shakespeare at ACT, you said you had a kind of a historic role. Is
Yeah.
that What was
So
your?
if you look her up in the who's who of women in the world, and especially in Shakespeare, it's a woman named Margaret Roma. She was working with Joseph Papp in New York, and she was innovative. She came over on the boat with Bertolt Brecht and
Wow.
fleeing Paris and fleeing the war. And she just became this amazing Shakespearean director. But she had the insight to start doing what's called integrated casting. And I think the first person she put in a major production, I believe, was Ted Lang. Cast him as Romeo. And so, anyway, this is a really crazy story. So, I was studying acting, and I found out she was starting with the San Francisco Shakespeare Company. And I said, I just want to meet her. I just want to meet her. So I jumped in my car, drove to San Francisco, and I got to this big theater, and there's this long line outside and in the lobby. I was like, what the heck's going on? So I said, I just want to meet her. Then, no, you got to stand in line. This is auditioning. I'm like, okay, well, I'll just wait. And when I get to my turn, I'll go, hey, I'm not an actor. I'm not doing anything like that, even though I was studying acting. I just wanted to meet you. So the line got shorter, shorter, shorter. So then they said, Mr. Anderson, it's your turn. They let me into the theater, and you were at the back of the theater, and someone was on stage auditioning. And then you were summoned down, and then you had to be right. And I am watching this guy from like the London Royal Shakespeare Academy. This guy was on stage doing these thou art and kneeling. I was like, wow. And so when he got done, Miss Rober goes, well, your acting's terrible, but we might need you to move props and sweep the stage. She had this, German accent. She leaned on a cane. I was like, and they were next. So I came down and I sat next to her and her husband. And I said, oh, you know what? It's so funny. I just wanted to meet you. And she hit her cane. You have nothing? I go, no, Miss Roma. Hey, if you need someone to sweep the stage or move furniture, I'm your guy. You have nothing? She goes, get that chair, get up on stage. And I went, okay.
Whoa.
What you're not understanding? Meanwhile, I had worked with Adela Barnes countless hours doing monologues and things. And I did this one-act play called Medal on a Rag. So she gets me up on stage and she goes, just do something. And I was like, I think I remember this monologue from this, right? So I do this monologue. I'm just like, I just tried to be polite as can be. She summons a chair, gets up on stage next to me, and starts talking about theater and war and revolutions and just going over my head. And I'm going, just pretend you know what she's like, just keep nodding. And she's like, okay, that's it. I was like, thank you. I'm out. It's over. I did it. I'm a fool, always. I get home, and my wife goes, San Francisco Shakespeare Company wants to talk to you. Hello? Yes, we're calling for Margaret Roma. You've been cast in the lead in Twelfth Night. You're playing Duke Orsino.
No way. Oh, wow. That's crazy.
It gets
did you
worse.
do it? Did you
It
do
gets
it?
worse.
It gets worse.
It gets worse.
It gets worse. So we have our first meeting. I show up in this theater in San Francisco, huge theater. And all these guys are from New York, Royal Academy, and they're looking at me. And this is not hyperbole. They're all whispering, this play will never go up with that guy in the lead.
Really?
And I can hear them. And I'm awful. I'm terrible. I'm so nervous. And Miss Maroma says, okay, rehearsals, 3, 4 hours a day, da 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 da. Sterling, you have to come to my apartment 3 hours before rehearsal. And I was like, what have I got myself into? So anyway, so I show up, and it was just exactly like Whiplash. It was
Wow.
he'd say, okay, say
Oh no.
this opening line, if music be the food of love, play on. And I'd say it, and she'd go, no, no, that's awful. You let a kid think. She's throwing books at me. She goes, if music be the food of love. I'm like, okay, if music be the food. No, no, no. Stopping her, swearing at me. I'm in tears. I'm like 28, 26, 27. I'm a grown man with kids, married, building a winery in Napa Valley. And I like,
You
okay.
built a winery in Napa Valley? Oh my God. And no, but she believed in you. Sterling, she believed in you.
She saw something.
No
She saw
question.
something. She saw something.
What? And you
And then,
play? Did you do the role?
okay, so
Okay, sorry.
then she said, okay, forget about the play. We're going to start with the sonnets. And I'd read a sonnet, and she'd go, no, no, no. So anyway, she said, I want you to buy a book. And the book was by Bertolt Brecht, because she was telling me about her relationship. And I think it was called Shakespeare, Our Contemporary.
Mhm.
And I read it, and I went, oh, I get it. I get it. This play is not about a person who's professing his love to a countess. This play is about a guy that has everything and he's bored. And so he's in love with the idea of being in love. And I went, get it. Shakespeare, Our Contemporary. It's about greed, jealousy, betrayal, ambition, power. And I went, oh. So I started to play this character who was just madly in love with the idea of being madly in love.
Right.
And
The beautiful.
changed everything.
Yeah, yes.
And the Chronicle came out with our review, and it said, Margaret Roma, the esteemed, da, 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 all about her. And the guy said, just go watch this play and watch this guy named Sterling Anderson. He said, at first, I didn't know if he was the worst actor in the world or the best. All I knew is I couldn't take my eyes off of him. Because
Wow.
all I did was wander around the stage going, I'm in love with being in love. Someone would walk up to me, I'd be like, oh, you're interrupting my passion, which is being in love. And they're saying, write a letter to Ophelia or whoever it was, or whatever, Viola, I can't remember the names. And I was like, oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Tell her how madly I am in love with her, with no sincerity, because I'm in love with being in love.
You love.
So then she said, after the play was over, she said, I want to talk to you. Me and my husband want to talk to you. So I said, okay. Go downstairs. She said, we're going to do Hamlet. Great. I will sweep the stage. I'll move furniture. Good on you. You're doing Hamlet. That's so fantastic. She said, I want you to play the part. And I was like, time out. Time out. No, that's a hard no. Ms. Roma, I'm honored. Thank you. She's, no, you're gonna play Hamlet, and you're gonna start rehearsing a year before we do the rest of the cast.
Oh my God.
And
Did
he
you?
did. He did.
You did?
I did it.
Historically, and that it was a big historic win, not just for Sterling personally, but right?
Yeah, yeah. It was. So what I figured out is why everyone fails at playing Hamlet is you try to play Hamlet,
Mm.
and what I figured out is people get bored watching this guy walk around going, I don't know what to do. I should do this. No, I shouldn't. I should do this. And I said, how can I make that interesting? How can I make not knowing what to do interesting.
Yep.
So all I did was just go, I'm mad. No, I'm not mad. I'm not. I'm really happy. No, I'm not happy. I'm going to get revenge. No, I can't really do revenge. My father said, yeah, but I didn't really get to know him well. So, so that's all I did. And it's impossible to do, to make people watch you for 3 hours going, I don't know what I'm going to do.
But doesn't it make you also, Sterling, and at this point, I know I mean, you obviously succeeded massively as an actor, massively. And then you segued into writing and writing simultaneous to teaching and mentoring. I don't know. I think that's that well-rounded bit that seems to feed what makes you so successful in heart and spirit with the work that you do. Do you agree?
Yeah, when I started, I'm so old. When I started, there were very few leading
So
men.
old.
So old.
No, no,
Don't even
seriously.
say your age. Do not say your age.
There,
You're not so old.
He doesn't know who
there
he's
was
speaking with.
Yeah.
there was really only Blair Underwood, Danny Glover, Denzel Washington. It was just a handful of guys. And every part I got put up with for was Mr. Tibbs, Mr. Tibbs. Every commercial I went on, I booked, and every audition was Mr. Tibbs. Well, I wanted to play the psycho killer. I wanted to play the heroin addict. I wanted to play the pimp. I wanted to play these parts. And I'd walk into these auditions, people go, nah, no, nah, no. So I started getting really
Sweet face.
discouraged. But what the vision I had actually happened. Unfortunately, I didn't get to be a part of it. But along came Delray Lindo, Samuel Jackson, Don Cheadle. And that's what my vision was. I wanted to be those guys, Ving Rhames. I wanted to be those offhanded, you know, lurking in the wings guys. I didn't want to be the leading man. And so I was really happy when it came along. But when I went to study with Roy London, there was a system, and I don't want to blather on, I'll get to this really quickly. We had this system where, what's her name? Ivana Chubbuck. You had to start with Ivana on Wednesday nights, no matter what. And when Ivana thought you were ready to be in Roy's class, you got bumped into Thursday or Tuesday night class or whatever. Thursday night class with Roy London was all the soap stars, all the people on Dynasty, and Tuesday night was the stars, Jeff Goldblum, Gina Davis, Gary Shandling, all these people. And so my first scene I put up for Ivana, my scene partner, I said, so how long have you been with Ivana? Like, how long? She goes, 2 years. I was like, 2 years? Oh my God. So I was like, oh no, okay. All right, go with the flow. We came down here to do something. All I know is I wasn't going to get on the bus to go home. So we put up our scene. And at the end of the class, the monitor comes over to me and goes, I'm like, yeah. Roy, Ivana said you're in Roy's class. I go, but I just did one scene. Roy wants you in his class. This is God's honest truth. This is why I stopped acting. This is the end of my acting career. So I go and I do this scene from Marty, the brilliant Ernest Borgnine part, and I put up a scene. And, you had to be on stage, you had to be prepped, you had all this stuff, and everybody's watching. By the way, I bumped Tuesday night class, and I'm sitting there, and we do this scene, and normally Roy will like talk to someone and break down the trouble they're having, or he'll interrupt you, and sometimes if your scene partner wasn't doing well, he'd talk to your scene partner for like 45 minutes and go, I'll get to you next week. And you're like, oh, well. So he starts asking my scene partner all these questions. I'm just going on stage, sweating, nervous. And then he gets to me and goes, Sterling, how come you're in my class? And I go, okay, it's a trick question. I go, to learn how to act? He goes, bull crap. You're the best actor I've seen in 20 years. Why are you
Wow.
in my class? And then I looked at the faces in my class. And I looked at all these movie stars. And this person had just gotten a role in Total Recall. And this person just did The Fly. And this person's got a talk show. And this person, I was like, well, he goes, figure out why you're in my class. Because I can't figure out why you're in my class. I was like, so anyway, I had a private meeting with him. And I said, the only thing I know, Roy, is that whenever I'm watching a scene in your class and I go, they should stop, you go, hey, stop. And whenever you go, you're doing this, I think to myself, you really should. And Roy says it. That's all I know. All I know is right before you say it, I think it. He goes, well, maybe you're a teacher.
Oh, that's amazing. So you found your path through all of it. You found what you wanted to do. That's
Absolutely.
amazing.
And he's still writing the most spectacular. I mean, some of the two of the best things I've read in the last couple of years have come from Sterling Anderson. And I
Oh,
and I would
The
also say
screenplays or what did
one
what
screenplay and one pilot, and we're going to table his pilot on
I
the summer
heard that.
series, right? So that's one. It really it's stunning. And then also because I had asked him if he wanted to table the script that I had read, that he had written about the dance theater of, can I say it?
no.
About the dance theater of Harlem. Really, I read that script. I'm like, I think this is the best script I've ever read, ever read. And I've read a lot of really amazing scripts. Not, I can't say that I've read everything, but I read a lot of really great scripts, and it's one of the best ones I've ever read. So I
Wow,
asked if
that's huge.
yes, and so I asked him if he would table it, and he said he couldn't because a producer has it now and is shopping it. So
Right.
can't do that one, but he said, but I have something else, which is so good. And I'm so excited that it's part
So
of
tell us a little bit about, I know we're going to do a part two. We're definitely going to do a part two because I know we have to fly
yeah,
in a second, but tell
yeah.
us about that. Like what's going on with that for
Oh,
Noon
okay. So
Miracle?
let me give credit where credit's due. I was having lunch with a guy named Charles Dutton, and he was telling me about his experience in prison and how he got into Yale Drama School. And he said something to the effect about prison etiquette. When you're getting out of prison, there's something you do for the people who are like on death row or a lifer. And I went, wow, that would really be interesting. Could I write something about that? And then the writing part, I had written a movie and for as a feature, and it ended up in the hands of Sidney Poitier. He said, I must play this role. And he did, with Mary Louise Parker and Diane Wiest. And at the time, it became one of the most watched movie in television history, movie of the week. And
What was
then
it, Sterling?
it's called The Simple Life of Noah Dearborn. It's on Amazon Prime still.
Okay, cool.
We got like a 30 share. It's directed by a guy named Greg
Huge.
Champion. It really did phenomenally well. Well, I was still a fraud. I was still a charlatan. I was just writing like
That's
I just
imposter syndrome talking just now there.
yes, it was imposter syndrome. And then I got wind of David Mamet was doing a TV show, and so he was collecting writers. And I went to go meet with David Mamet, and I got lost 50 times. I was late because I was so nervous. And he's talking to me, and we just start talking about martial arts. He says, "You're on the show." So anyway, I got to sit in a room with David Mamet every day. that's when I learned how to write.
Yeah, for sure.
So what I did was I took that script called The Messenger. I wrote 2 scripts. I'm going to say, I'm paying homage to what I learned from David Mamet. I'm just going to just do it. I found his voice. I found the way he writes, and I wrote 2 screenplays, 2 pilots. They both sold within a week. And so one of them was The Messenger, which we're table reading.
Amazing.
Yeah,
This is so exciting.
it's really exciting, and I can't wait for people to hear it. So
Oh, when is that happening? If we want to share that.
that is happening July 13th, which is lovely because it's Mom's birthday. So I remember this day, July 13th at 10 a.m. Pacific time.
On Noon Miracle?
Yeah, Noon Miracle.
Oh, that's sensational.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to look forward to that.
Yes. And then he starts his class for Noon Miracle. I have that date right here. His class. Oh, I'm in the wrong part of my calendar now. Sterling's class begins in July 19th.
Amazing.
For
How
8
long?
weeks. 8 weeks. Once a week for 8 weeks, and with a private session with everybody afterwards to
Wow.
scripts, which is, it's like not it's 8+ classes because he is such an amazingly dedicated teacher and mentor that he's constantly, and still, people he's worked with for years, he's still in contact with. He's just a generous teacher. So I hope everyone can come and see the table and come to the class too.
Absolutely. So more on Sterling Anderson, because he'll be part of the Noon Miracle family. So
Yes.
make sure everybody tunes in. Sterling, thank you so much. I can't wait to learn more from you.
Thank you. Thank you for great questions and allowing me to blather on. And
You're a great storyteller, Sterling. Thank you in every way.
thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.